Hi there, it's Julie Davison from juliedavison.com. Today I'm going to show you some tips for making this card using the Fresh Fruit stamp set from the 2016-2017 Stampin' Up! Annual Catalog. Here's the stamp set. I featured this stamp set as my Stamp of the Month Club in August 2016, and this was one of the 3 cards included in the card kit. Here are the other 2. A little peach card with the gatefold and a strawberry card, all featuring the fruit stand designer paper. And this one is a little more complicated, more so than it looks, so I just wanted to share a video with some tips to make it, including how to do the watercolor wash with the Wink of Stella, and a trick for cutting the ribbon to line up with the designer paper. So let's go ahead and get started. We're using a piece of designer paper that is 4 inches by 4 inches. I wanted to maximize the designer paper from the 12 by 12 sheet. So I'm going to cut this piece diagonally in the paper trimmer. And I've got about 1 inch here. And then, you know, it doesn't have to be exact. I just want kind of an angle. So I've got 2 pieces of my diagonal cut, and I'm going to use the bigger one here on the front, and the smaller piece will go on the inside of the card there at the bottom. So I'll save that for later. But I want to have my ribbon go across the cardstock. So in order to get the cut just right, I'm going to line up the ribbon, the burlap ribbon, with the edge of the paper. And then I'm just going to hold it and cut so that it has the same edge. And then when it goes down, it'll have the same angle that I need it to have. So I'll do the same on this side. And then I'm ready to glue it to the paper. So I'm just going to use some regular snail adhesive to glue the paper down. And then for the ribbon, I want to make sure that it stays put. So I like to use the fast fuse, but also use the tear and tape. So I'll use a little bit of that to put the designer paper down. And then instead of trying to put the adhesive on the ribbon, I'm just going to put it on the cardstock where the ribbon will go. And that's how I get that perfect line with the ribbon and the designer paper. All right, moving on to the next element. I have this label die cut using the Lots of Label framelits. And I'm going to do what I'm calling a 2-step rock and roll. So I'm using the Pear Pizzazz ink pad, and I want to stamp off on the scrap paper first, and then I'm going to stamp the pear on the cardstock, but I want to add a little bit more kind of color and a gradient to the color. So I'm going to take the stamp and I'm going to what we call rock and roll on the ink pad. So I don't know if you can see, it's not inked all the way, it's just kind of inked some of the way. So there's this spot here in the middle that doesn't have ink, and I'm going to line that back up right over it and stamp again. So if you want to have it exactly, you could use the Stamp-A-Majig, but I found with this image that it doesn't really matter if it lines up just perfect. But now I get this kind of difference in the color, and kind of using the same ink pad to get 2 different shades of that color. So that's the 2-step rock and roll. And then we're going to stamp the stem. And you could stamp that in a different color like soft suede. I'm just going to stamp it in the same Pear Pizzazz. Okay, now for the Wink of Stella watercolor wash, I'm going to use the clear Wink of Stella. So we have 2 different Wink of Stellas, clear and the gold. And I'm going to squeeze out some extra of the Wink of Stella so that I end up with some on my block. And then I'm going to take 1 drop of Daffodil Delight re-inker, and you could use any yellow if you want. I just kind of wanted to pick up some of the yellow tone in the pear, so I'm going to mix that up. And then I'm just going to paint a wash in the background around the pear. And the more Wink of Stella you squeeze out, the more it'll be diluted and a little bit lighter. So you can see on my sample, it's a little bit lighter because I had more of the Wink of Stella on the black. And then after it dries, you'll stamp the greeting, and it doesn't take very long to dry. You'll stamp that. If you want, you can add some of the clear Wink of Stella without the yellow on the pear, just to give it a little extra sparkle. And then I'm not sure if you can see it very well in the picture, but I did add a little bit. You can see it here. Just some splatter with the Wink of Stella. And so to do that, I just took, and again, just squeezing some extra out, a really kind of wet tip, and then just sort of tap to get that splatter. So just kind of adds a fun texture to your project. So here again is the finished card. I hope that you like it and that you'll give it a try at home. Thanks so much for watching. Happy stamping!